So we took a break, and as I tend to do, I went in the garage, and I had smoke coming out of my ears. I had some coming out of my mouth as well, but I had smoke coming out of my ears because I hate when fans do this. They don't get the guy that they wanted. In this case, it's Dalvin Cook, and Dolphin fans are doing it right now. And they say, hey, we didn't want him anyways. We have Mostert. Get the hell out of here. Greg, you wanted Dalvin Cook. Anyone who's a Dolphin fan wanted Dalvin Cook. Why? Because Dalvin Cook makes your team better. And in that division, a division where it's going to come down to a game, it's going to come down to a play here and there, you want to have the most weapons you could possibly have to win a very difficult division. And so it just drives me crazy when fans walk around, oh, I didn't get that guy. I didn't want him anyway. Get the hell out of here.
But
you wanted Dalvin Cook, Greg Cote.
But the Dolphins didn't want Dalvin Cook, it seems, because he wanted to be here and he's not here.
The Dolphins and their fans are two very different things. I don't doubt that the Dolphins did not want Dalvin Cook because the reports are they didn't make him a fair offer, okay? But the fans wanted Dalvin Cook.
Of course.
If for no other reason, they didn't want Dalvin Cook going to the Jets.
Right. The fans always want star players. They don't think in terms of, do we need him? Is he appreciably better than Mostert? Is he $8 million better than Mostert? I mean, I don't know that.
Is this just a Jets fan getting upset that the shoe's on the other foot?
Yeah, why are you mad?
Because the Jets are very used to wanting
This
a
is a
player
Jet
and not
fan-
getting him
this is a
and
Jet-
getting upset about it.
This is a Jet fan who knows that move very, very well.
Right, that's what
I
I'm
didn't
saying.
want him
You're
anyway.
projecting.
Yeah, because we never get that guy.
But you
And
just
this time we got the guy.
Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
So you want the other fans to be upset that they didn't get the guy.
I felt the same way when we got Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, what I didn't want is Dalvin Cook to go to the Dolphins.
So instead of being happy that you got him, you want other people to be upset? I don't even understand this.
I'm not
No.
gonna lie, the Stugotz is right because
Thank
I'm
you.
a Buffalo Bills fan, and I couldn't wait for the Cook and Cook connection. I was like, boy, we gonna sell T-shirts, it's gonna be you're gonna be getting yards and everything. But now that he played for the Jets, he washed, he trashed, get him out of here. I ain't never wanted his ass.
Thank you, Juju.
Schadenfreude, all right, that's what it is that Stu is hoping for. He wants to look over and see Dolphins fans be miserable. It's not as much fun, which I think is true when I'm playing video games with my friends. But, like, generally in life, I don't have that. But if I'm playing, like, FIFA with my guys or Call of Duty, like, I need you to be pissed or it ain't fun. And that's the only reason we doing it for. That's the only reason I'm doing it is so that you can be upset and you can pretend like it don't hurt. And I can send you a text while you at work the next day and say, but who the champ is, though.
Same with fantasy football.
It got personal, but yeah. my FIFA group chat know who I'm talking to. You know who I'm talking to, and you know who the world champ is right now. It's me. That's who. Anyway, back to what we was talking about. The Dalvin Cook conversation. So I get it. He's an explosive, impressive player, and anybody should want a player like Dalvin Cook. The interesting thing about Dalvin Cook to me is when you're getting these older running backs who are obviously not going to be like bell cow, every down backs, you lose something that I think most fans don't account for, is you lose the backup running back who is also the guard on punt team, who also runs down on kickoff, who also blocks on punt return, who also does all these other little things that help your team out. When you have a running back like Dalvin Cook, who is not, Ezekiel Elliott falls in this category also, they are not quite good enough to build, they're not quite good enough at this point to build an entire offense around. But they also are not at a stage in their career where they can help you in other ways. And I can't imagine anything less interesting than talking about special teams talk. But when you're building a roster, those things really do matter. Having a guy on your team that can give you 5 good carries a game is not as valuable as having a guy that can give you 15 special team snaps. I mean, it's not fun, but it's true. So that's the defense you have, Greg Cote, a special teams defense. We didn't want Dalvin Cook because he ain't never going to run down on kickoff.
Here's another thing I would say. Dalvin Cook does not move the needle in terms of Super Bowl odds. The Jets are the same odds they were before they signed him.
The Jets are a better team today than they were yesterday.
I mean, the fact of the matter is no one moves the needle on Super Bowl odds who's not a quarterback, I would think.
Right.
I don't think that there's anybody that you can acquire, the exception of maybe Myles Garrett, that is going to change your odds.
Aaron Donald, maybe?
Yeah, those type of players. But by and large, most guys are not going to move the odds, but they can change your team's prospects. In a position like running back that gets hurt a lot, to play the other side of the argument is you saw what happened to their offense when they lost their running back last year. To be able to
Brees
have
Hall,
some,
yeah.
to have some support there would go a long way for them.
So we've now found exactly how good Dalvin Cook is, because he's good enough that you should be excited because it makes your team better than you were the day before, but he's not good enough to where the opponent who didn't get him is going to be sad about it. That's the happy medium for a player as good as Dalvin Cook.
I think the opponent is sad. They're just, they're acting
No,
like
but
they're
they
not.
shouldn't be. Like, the point would be you're
Bunch
going to
of
have some
phonies,
other
I mean,
player that's maybe more versatile for your team.
Right.
Dalvin Cook is not changing Super Bowl odds. He's not, bringing in a bell cow of a running back. It's
Jeremy,
a complimentary player.
Dalvin on a team that's already talented and good is a nice addition.
Absolutely.
To Dominique's point, you put him on a bad team, he's gonna want all the he's not gonna make that team good, but he can make a good team great.
Right, his 5 less touches per game for the Dolphins means the ball's now in the hands of Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill or Raheem Mostert or whatever other explosive
Jeff
player might
Wilson.
exist. He would have been really great insurance to any of those explosive players.
It also means, in a less interesting note, but it also means that your nickel is not going to be exhausted from playing all these downs on special teams. But I do think that a player like Dalvin Cook, best case scenario, he's going to be the Dalvin Cook that you want him to be, the Dalvin Cook that you remember a few times this season. You need him at the right time.
Right.
So if Dalvin Cook breaks off,
I need that 80-yard run at the right time.
yeah,
Yes.
he's going, there's a chance that he saves your offense at some point this season and takes, as he did in the Colts game last year, takes a short pass or a short run and turns it into something explosive that sets you up to win. There's a chance that it doesn't happen, and then you have not. But the thing is, if you don't have a Dalvin Cook, you don't have that chance.
Right. He also did that to Buffalo last year. Screw him. But it's not that big of a difference between Brees Hall, Michael Carter, and Dalvin Cook as far as talent-wise. You feel me? So, like you said, the group effort of it all is the best shit.
But that's what that position has really become for a lot of teams, for most teams in the NFL. So when you have Brees Hall, who's injured and might not be ready for the regular season, it's nice to know that you have Dalvin Cook. Yeah. And when Mostert gets hurt, Greg Cody's going to wish he had Dalvin Cook.
No, it is at this point sort of like having a really great bullpen in Major League Baseball where you already have a good closer and a setup man, and now you're just adding more and more arms because eventually that's what you're going to need to do in the playoffs. You're looking at a full 17-game regular season and saying, okay, it's great that we have Brees Hall. It's great that we have Michael Carter, but adding Dalvin Cook can only help. I get that side of it.
Okay. In a meeting room right now at Dolphins camp,
Yeah.
defensive coordinator Vic Fangio is not sweating.
Fangs.
Oh my God, they got Dalvin Cook. Let's go back to the drawing board.
No, he's sweating Aaron
What
Rodgers.
are we gonna do? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because they're
and then you forget about Dalvin Cook, and then he breaks one off for 80.
Okay, they're going to be a passing team. Dalvin Cook's not going to carry 15 times a game.
Transition. On another note, how did you feel about Dwyane Wade not mentioning you during his Hall of Fame speech?
Oh, yeah. That's
Great
two guys,
question,
two
Juju.
Miami legends going in the Hall of Fame. Not one mention of cowboy shirt Cote.
Right, that's exactly right. Zach Thomas and I had a closer relationship than Dwayne and I did because at one point Dwayne got very mad at me for something I tweeted that sort of harmed our relationship a little bit.
What was it?
This was very late in his career, and he was peddling wine at the time. And I think he had come out
Peddling wine.
Well, he was
So
It's a really
dismissive.
good start.
Doesn't
had
sound great, Greg.
He had a signature wine,
Can't imagine what set him off.
and I
Make him
think
sound like a bootlegger with hooch.
okay, I think that
He was pushing that hooch on the corner.
I think the vintage of the wine was something like 2015 or 2016.
Calling him cheap.
And
know,
I
disrespectful.
made the crack that's the same year when his prime started to run away from him or something.
Not necessary.
It was regrettable.
I have a follow-up
Too
question.
It was absolutely regrettable.
Was this after
good
he
joke,
gave
though.
you a free bottle of said wine?
He did not give me a free bottle of
Okay,
Sauvignon.
I was asking because I remember it at that final media day. He was walking around giving some of the what I will refer to as the senior members of the Miami media a bottle of his wine and a thank you for their years of coverage. And Greg, did you not receive that from Dwyane Wade?
I did get a Dwayne Wade bow tie, which ranks below the bottle of wine on the pecking order. But no, what I
kept that to
tweeted,
yourself.
what I
If that was
tweeted
intentional, that's hilarious, by the way.
what I tweeted was mean and gratuitous.
Was he on the Heat at the time, or this is when he was away? We don't talk about when he was away, but is this when he was away?
I can't recall the exact chronology.
I'm just wondering if there was some sort of like you felt more comfortable because he wasn't here and you were a little grumpy pants because he left. You know what I mean? So you're like, let me take a shot at him. I'm safe.
It could be, but it was very uncalled for. I regretted doing it, and he let it be known that I had gotten in his feelings, quote unquote, and our relationship was hurt, was harmed.
And did you apologize?
Yeah.
You did? Was it heartfelt, or you just did it because Dwyane Wade is standing there and you were intimidated?
No, it was heartfelt.
So you haven't made any more jokes since then. So have you retired making fun of players in general? Because I feel like you can't apologize for a joke like that. You can apologize, I guess, I'm sorry for the way it made you feel.
Yeah,
but
that's what I apologize for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still firing off wise ones when you got to?
I try not to.
What's your favorite? Do you have a historic best, like, Twitter wisecrack that you, like? Because I feel like the Dwyane Wade one, as much as we all, like, judge you for it, good joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't bad.
And listen, don't let him fool you. He's oddly proud of it. He got in Wade's feelings.
It's a good one. I might use that.
I can't disagree. It was a pretty good line by me, but
You're so sorry.
yeah, I know. No, and that's what I said before about Hard Knocks. When you see when they humanize a player, that line I made about Dwyane was treating him like a piece of meat. It was not considering that maybe he's going to be hurt by this, because when you're one of the all-time great players and you know that you're not as good as you were 2 years ago or whatever, yeah, you're going to be pretty sensitive about that. That's going to be a pretty raw feeling to have to go through in your life, I would imagine. Yeah. And so it was just, just something I shouldn't have done.
So it looks like Wade Sellers launched in Shanghai in 2015. He was still in the Heat at the time, but it was his last season, and then it became available for purchase in the U.S. in 2018 when he was on the Cavaliers. Then he came back to the Heat, and its vintage goes back to 2012, which is a bit of a shock because that was in the middle of the Big Three era.
Yeah. I think the crack I made was referring to a vintage of 15 or 16, I think, 2015, something like that.
We got a lot of stuff that I want to get into. I've gotten a sneak peek at some of Tony's takes. We got his quarterback tiers.
Tears.
It's hilarious. We also got his top 5 takeaways from the preseason. I think it's quarterbacks that have shown me something. Trust me, guys. The analysis is, what's the word I want to use? Enjoyable. I'll just say.
All right.
It's fun analysis. I'm looking forward to that. But before we get to that, I was telling a story in the break because, as you all have heard, Greg Cote hurt Dwyane Wade's feelings with a wisecrack he made years ago, which I contend, quality joke about Dwyane Wade's wine. And we were talking during the break about how Stu identifies this also as how you get on the microphone and you kind of forget that people might actually care what you have to say and you can hurt people's feelings.
Actually, I've operated under the assumption, I think it's different for you because you're a peer, you're a professional athlete, you play in the NFL, but I operated under the assumption that guys like Dwyane Wade don't care what Greg Cote has to say about them, doesn't care about the jokes. He's above that. He's secure in himself. And I forever assumed that J.J. Watt would never care what I have to say about him until I learned that J.J. Watt cared deeply about what I was saying about him. And it kind of hurt my feel. Like I felt bad. And so I think sometimes we tend to not think about some of the things we're saying. But again, I am floored that J.J. Watt cares about my opinion of J.J. Watt, and I am floored that Dwyane Wade cares about Greg Cote's opinion of Dwyane Wade. I deserved it.
I don't think he actually cares about your opinion.
I think he's tired of the jokes.
I think he's tired of people like you complaining about him when he's been so successful and is going to be a Hall of Famer, saying that he is, whatever it is that you say.
You just said he's not genuine, right? That's the general point, is that he's like acting like Captain America when he is.
That cabin, though, was not a cabin, if we're going to be honest.
Thank you.
Do it against the
Here
Niners.
I am doing what I just railed against. I mean,
I think it's important. I try to remind myself of that. I forget every now and then when I go a little too far, and sometimes I get calls from coaches or players or who have an issue with something I say, and mostly it's not about analysis. It's about jokes. if you make a joke that goes a little too far, the one time I got some about analysis, I got my life threatened by David Gettleman's goons.
Go on.
What?
Oh, please.
Gentlemen, he has goons.
I don't know if I'm sorry to spring this on you. I assume that they were not actually his goons. But if you have some sound at some point of David Gettleman saying anything, because I think his voice, if you forgot, his voice is important to understanding that the goons sounded the same.
This is his voice. Hey, Dave, what up? He said that in a bag of donuts.
Yeah.
So I was in New York. I was doing Get Up and First Take and all that stuff a while ago. And David Gettleman has been the butt of many jokes during that time because he seemed like he was kind of antiquated in his philosophy. So we were making fun of him. And then I got a call like late midnight one night on my cell phone when I'm in a hotel room, and somebody in like this thick, it sounded like a stereotypical New York accent, answered the phone and started threatening me. And like, I don't know, I'm not trying to act like I'm some tough, scary guy, but you know what is not going to scare me? A phone call. So like, I just kept talking to the guy. I just kept talking to the guy and kept him on the line as long as possible until he ran out of gas. But he's like, hey, look, what you're not going to do, talk bad about my guy. You got to respect New York. And it's just threatening and threatening and threatening.
You know, people call you and they want
There it is.
they want the second pick of the draft for, you know, a bag of donuts, a hot pretzel, and a hot dog. You know, it's like, you get away, leave me alone. I ain't got time to screw around.
There it is. That's the exact voice. So maybe it was actually.
Maybe it was him.
I was gonna say.
But it was a weird thing because, again, if somebody, I'm not pretending like I'm like without any fear anytime, but this damn sure ain't gonna scare me. And what did you think was gonna happen? That I was just gonna go on TV the next day and be like, you know what? You know who's got it figured out? David Gettleman, while he makes all these decisions that seemingly make no sense.
And ain't nobody scared of no goddamn David Gettleman. Get out
I
of
ain't
here.
got time to screw around. I ain't got time to screw around.
Hey.
I ain't got time to screw around.
If I were in a 90s mafia movie, terrified. That
I ain't
voice.
got time to screw around.
He sounded like he
That's
made some
scary.
people sleep with the fish. I feel you.
No doubt.
He paints some houses.
Yeah, but I remember that. And then I called. So I kept the guy on the line for as long as possible. He ran out of gas eventually, and we ended up just having a conversation. He was like, I mean, you just got to be nice. Like, you don't have to be. So like, once he ran out of that anger, he was like, I think he thought I was going to hang up.
He became a friend.
Or whatever. Yeah, I became his therapist. To be clear, I was making a joke. I do not think that it was Dave Gettleman's goons. Maybe it was a family person, a family
I think it
member or
was
something.
Gettleman.
It may have been because who's out here with a GM hive? Like, who has a GM hive? It's not like he ain't Beyonce. Like, who's coming for David Gettleman criticism?
I ain't got time to screw around.
That's fair.
The G Hive.
Remember when he said computer guys? What did he say? He was talking about getting an analytics.
Computers.
Yeah, he was like he was trying to make us believe that he had modernized his general managing and just started saying words like computers around. And then I called ESPN security, and they don't play, man.
We've hired 4 computer folks,
There
and
it
we're
is.
completely redoing the back end of our college and pro scouting systems.
Computer folks.
ESPN security was amazing.
Yeah,
It's like FBI agents.
Yeah, it's the Disney global security. They don't play no games, man. You give them one call and tell them something happening, they descend from the skies, rappelling down on you and protect you. I mean, you notice we don't really have too much drama around the ESPN people because that security team don't play. I don't know nobody in it. I don't want to know nobody in it, but I know if you call me with some threatening foolishness, my next call, Disney Global Security, they're going to be at your front door. Open up.
If there was an NFL GM that did have goons, right, who would that guy be? Because I feel like it's Eric DaCosta.
Oh,
Yeah.
DaCosta.
Yeah.
He's not managing generally anymore, is he? Oh, no, DaCosta. I'm mixing DaCosta up with the guy that used to be – DaCosta's in Baltimore.
Yes.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
mixing him up with the guy that used to be in Atlanta. But, yeah, he got some goons. I think John Lynch got some goons.
Les Snead.
Lynch.
Ooh,
Les
Les
Snead's
Snead is a
great.
goony name.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to – Les Snead sound like he's selling that bootleg hooch. Taste of Les Snead's product.
Do y'all think that Ezekiel Elliott is gonna affect the Patriots'
No.
trajectory?
Oh God.
So
But if he would have
The wrong way.
But if he would have signed with the Jets,
Would have been great.
Zeke, so Bill Belichick has a long track record of bringing in guys that are past their prime, and we used to be fooled. We used to be like, oh, Bill's bringing him in. He's going to make something out of him. But it's failed far too many times. That man got to stop looking for discounts. He's been looking for discounts his entire career, and it worked in part because he can coach the hell out of defense and because he's always had Tom Brady. You can't find no discounts no more, Bill. You're not going to be able to shop on the scrap heap and put together an offense. You're going to have to give that man Max some weapons. They finally got him an offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien. They brought him in to take over for what they had last year, which was O-line coaches and defensive coordinators.
Matt Patricia,
trying to lead the offense, which is not a smart move if you're developing a young quarterback. But they got Zeke, so they hand it off to him 20 times a game.
They have
It'll be all right.
Stevenson, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it was 1993, I'd be really excited about that rushing attack and that great defense. That hasn't won in football in quite some time.
Remember when they signed Steven Jackson?
Oh,
wow!
I forgot they signed Steven Jackson.
All the smoke.
Not that Steven Jackson.
I like the idea that it was NBA small forward Steven Jackson.
I remember they brought in Albert Hainsworth.
That
was the one that
disaster.
I was like, oh, that's going to work. The D-line, though, that is the most terrifying that just added Jalen Carter is the Eagles. I picked the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl last year at the start of the season and lose to the Chiefs. Yeah, look at me, Louie. I was right.
Damn.
Allegedly.
It don't matter. I could have made it up.
I think it's documented.
Yeah, it is documented.
Yeah.
But I'm tempted to go Eagles to win it all this year.
Me too. I'm Eagles, Bills, Super Bowl. I hope it's 100 to 99, and they win at the buzzer. Whoever wins, those are my two hearts.
Is the Eagles? So are you the? I think that's interesting. Who are the other teams that you guys have? Do we all have a secondary team to go with your primary team? Because I feel like
Darius Slay is my actual second cousin, like the second one for real. So it's impossible for me not to root for him. And Leotis McKelvin, who used to play for the Bills and the Eagles, he got my fandom in those two teams because he's the only person from my city that ever made it. Salute to Leotis, I see you.
So why are you a Bills fan? Feels like you should be an Eagles fan.
Because, nobody circles the wagons like them. You
Right.
feel me?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah,
It's a good reason.
Yeah.
It's a good reason.
Nobody's
Yeah,
It's
got a
the
wagon.
reason. Yeah.
I had secondary teams for a while. I had the Jaguars, specifically because Blake Bortles was their quarterback, and I was a UCF guy. I liked the Chargers because they moved to LA and nobody liked that they moved to LA, and so I was like being like it'd be really cool to root for the Chargers now. Let me buy a hat and have the powder blue and the whole thing.
Chris Cody's team.
Yeah, Chris Cody's team as well. So, you can have secondary teams without it
I
being
don't
for any
judge you.
particular reason.
I grew up in Baltimore before we had a team. It was in between teams. The Ravens didn't come until I was like a teenager, and I was preoccupied at that point. So I did not grow up a Ravens fan. I kind of grew up being a fan of sports, and my
Not the
allegiance-
Commanders?
No. See, the thing is, as you guys probably know, for local things, people far away from Florida think Miami is all of Florida.
Right.
But when you get close, you can understand that there are distinctions. The same thing. DC and Baltimore are very close, which makes them even more distinct. If you are in Baltimore, the one thing you cannot do is identify, well, I live in D.C. now, but the one thing you cannot do is identify with D.C. things. It's like, it's your cousin. It's right there. Like, you can't jump on that.
Like New Balances.
Oh, yeah, we don't mess with the New Balances. That's definitely a distinctly D.C. thing. Again, that is only for me and you, Juju.
I forgot where I was at.
Yeah, you forgot. You thought that because me, you, and Roy was here that we could talk about all types of things, but no.
I seen the emptiness in Stugotz's eyes. He was like, what does that even mean?
What?
Yeah,
Equally empty.
Jeremy started scratching his cheek. It was rough.
should I throw away my New Balance?
No, keep your New Balance.
Oh.
I mean, there were plenty of times where you could have thrown them away, but you can keep them.
Might not be a bad idea to throw them away. Send me a picture of them.
Oh, man. I think I've become a Ravens fan, though, mostly because Lamar Jackson, and I love the way y'all hate him.
Big trash.